Today, I want to talk a little bit about conference marketing for startups. One of my clients, many of my clients have utilized conferences or conventions to market their early stage startups. And I really like utilizing conferences or conventions because you can nail down your target market pretty well. But there are certain things that I would highly recommend avoiding when it comes to conferences if you're an early stage startup. And I'll talk about the different stages and why you might do some things up front and then other things later on. But there's a general principle I like to use, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. If you have further questions, just let me know. Go into the comments, leave me a question. It'll be good content for another show that I'm doing, another live show. So if you have any questions, leave those down below, and I'll address them in another upcoming live stream. But one of the things that I think that people get wrong about conference marketing, particularly for early stage startups, is that they focus on the wrong things. Because let's face it, conferences and conventions, the easiest way for them to offer you marketing opportunities is for them to package those opportunities in what they tend to call like sponsorship packages, right? They'll have a gold sponsorship, a silver sponsorship. And a lot of times what those sponsorships get you is they get you like freebies in the handouts that they give out. They'll make you give out a bag of stuff, a bag of tchotchkes, right? And that's what we used to call them back in the day. I don't know if people can still call them that. They give you a bag full of tchotchkes. They give you, pens, whatever. And you can put something in the bag. You can maybe even pay to advertise your company logo on the bag. You can have your logo on some of the conference materials. You get emails sent out from the conference that have your branding on it or something like that. That's what conferences and conventions tend to like selling. Now, why do they like that? Because it's easy for them, right? If you're the conference, all I need is your logo, and I throw your logo up on something. All I need is for you to order pens, and I throw your pen in a bag. I would argue that unless you are a late stage startup, all of those packaging things, most of them are not worth your time. And the reason that they're not worth your time is because if you're just paying for a logo to go somewhere, you're not a well-known brand if you're an early stage startup. Now, if you're a late stage startup and you're trying to take market share away from like a big competitor, yeah, having your logo out somewhere, maybe that's beneficial because it can build your brand awareness and showcase that you are one of the bigger players in the marketplace. But if you're an early stage startup that's just trying to get the first few customers, even if you are going from 5 customers to 25 customers, chances are it's going to be a waste of money to pay for your logo to appear in all of these places when you could be driving towards better conversations that fill up your customer development pipeline or your sales pipeline. Well, how do you go about getting those kinds of things? You're not going to get them from the sponsorship packages, right? Because someone sees your logo, that doesn't mean they're going to go to your booth. Someone sees your logo, that doesn't mean they're going to go to your website and sign up right away, right? They need to know more about your product. Chances are they've never seen you before. They need to understand a little bit more about how you do business, why you're in business, what problem that your product solves, all of those kinds of questions. Not good to just see a logo and maybe a tagline. They need more from you, right? So if you are a really early stage startup and you really just want to, make connections with people, one of your best, bang for your buck solutions is to attend the conference, go to some of the events at the conference that are more targeted towards your specific technology that you're building or whatever product that you're building that you want to sell to people. And just bring business cards with you and try to start conversations. Again, it would be better for you to be able to walk away with 10 business cards of people you can connect to later that could be potential customers or potential partners in some way. It'd be better for you to have those 10 cards for follow-up conversations than it would be for you to have a logo somewhere that never goes anywhere, right? So my first recommendation is think in terms of how do I get conversation started, not how do I get my name out there. Your conference activity is more so geared towards sales and research activities, customer development activities, than it is geared towards like heavily marketing centric activities. So that's rule number one. Okay. Now, as your startup grows, if you want to get a booth, if you have the funds to get a booth can be fantastic, especially if you have a prototype that you can kind of demo for people at the booth. That works really well. There's a whole list of strategies that I could get into about how you should work a booth and how you should attract people to your booth and all of that kind of stuff. So that's important as well. I can get into that in more detail in another video. I just want to kind of give you a feel for high level strategy at these conferences and conventions. What should you be doing? If you're going to have a booth, that's great. Try to get outside of the booth as much as possible into the throughways so that you can have people come back to your booth to get a demo. I like to do a giveaway of some kind. A lot of times I recommend an iPad so that if you're walking down the aisle, you can say, hey, did you want to win an iPad? We're giving away an iPad over here. And then if the person says, oh yeah, that'd be cool, then you can walk them back over the booth. And while you're walking them back over the booth, you can say, by the way, I'd love to get 5 minutes of your time because we have this new product that I would like to interview you about. If you're an early stage startup, every single one of those conversations is gold. So book the meeting with them right then and there. It's like, can I get time on your calendar later? We can do a Zoom meeting and I can ask you a lot of questions about my product. Following the Steve Blank's four steps to the epiphany approach, right? Interviewing your customers, getting out there and talking to them. That's a fantastic approach. So if you have a booth, you can do that. There's a whole booth strategy that you can create. But again, you're not putting your logo up on these sponsorship packages because that's not going to get you what you need out of a conference if you're an early stage startup. The more sophisticated your startup gets, the more you can get into those kind of more marketing activities. You can try to do volume plays, right? But when you're early on as an early stage startup, you don't need volume plays. You need to go in there and you need to figure out, how do I have conversations with people who are likely to be in my target market, and then have a follow-up conversation with them later to really understand how they do business, understand what their processes are, so that you can come alongside them with your product in such a way that offers value that they'd be willing to buy your product from you. That's what you're looking for, right? So I just wanted to come on here, give a really brief little live stream about when you choose to go to conferences and conventions. I think it's better to put your sales and customer development research hat on if you're an early stage startup, and take off that marketing hat, because the marketing hat will come later. What you really want is more conversations, and that's going to be more of a networking style. It's going to be more of a, hey, do you mind if we do an interview so I can understand how you do business better? I'm trying to meet more people in this space, and I'd love to meet with people more like you. That's what you want to do. So ask me questions, and I'm more than willing to help out. I've helped lots of startups with their conference presence before, and figuring out like how to maximize the budget that they have for their conference presence. And sometimes you have a bigger budget. You can, like I said, you can get a booth. That's great. Sometimes you can do a sponsorship package because it comes with a booth. I'm not saying those packages are the worst. I'm just saying, as a marketing professional, I usually like to negotiate those packages. Okay, cool. You're going to give me a logo on your program. What about me being able to send an email to everybody who's going to attend the conference? How much would you charge me for that? That's more valuable to me because I can ask people in the email. If I can ask them to stop by my booth if I have one, I can ask them to have a conversation with me, and I'll give them a $25 Amazon gift card for having a conversation with me. Whatever, I can do more creative things for less money that are more valuable to me in the long run. So if you have any questions about that, if you've been to conventions and conferences before and you don't feel like you maximize that interaction, leave me questions about what you wish you could have maximized there, or let me know like what went wrong and what went right, and we can talk about how we want to kind of tweak that. Also, I do have space. I'm a fractional CMO. I have space. If anybody needs a fractional CMO to step on board, definitely hit me up on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to come on board with you and help you with your marketing strategy. Thanks for watching. Tomorrow, probably talk a little bit more about conference marketing, but unless you have other questions about something else, let me know, because questions make for way better live sessions where I can talk about something you're dealing with. Talk to you later. Bye.